Hi, I'm Cec Busby. Welcome to First Act, the podcast series brought to you by Cec Business Builders, where we chat to inspiring innovators across the startup and small business ecosystem. If you're looking for small business inspiration, you can find us at www.cocesbusinessbuilders.com.au or join us on Facebook. Hi everybody. Today I'm chatting with Melanie Perkins. Mel is the co-founder of Canva, an online design site that allows users to easily create designs with simple drag and drop tools and templates. Canva now has over 10 million users across 179 countries and businesses, and they create 10 new designs every second. It's a pretty impressive stat, and Mel's here today with us to chat about how it all began and where the startup is heading to next. Welcome, Mel. I wouldn't mind taking a step right back to the very beginning. Were you like one of those arty kids? Did art and design play much of a role in your life growing up?
Yeah, I've always loved art and I've always loved creating things and taking on way too much, even when I was a little kid, like taking on lots of different. I actually got told in year 6 to not do so much homework. I just really enjoyed putting a lot of effort into the things that I did.
Yeah. And so did your teachers encourage you to go on a creative path, or your family did? Was your family artistic?
Our whole family is really artistic. Actually, my brothers, they're much better drawers and musicians than me. And so I didn't have any skills in things that my whole family, so my dad has a really big family and they're all really musical except for me. And so I think that it was actually kind of good in a way. It meant that the only skill that I had was to put lots of effort into things. So I put a lot more effort into things than the standard, I think, partly because I just wasn't very talented at drawing and music like my cousins.
So why did you want to pursue design when you went to uni?
Actually, I was studying communication psychology and commerce when I went to uni. It was because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I did know that I wanted to. But I thought that having 2 different degrees would be really helpful to shape the way I was thinking about the world from 2 different perspectives. And I think that's been really helpful because it's given me a different view on the information that I was getting. At the same
time. That extra effort thing that you're always putting in.
Exactly.
Double degree.
Yeah. I didn't quite finish though. I've got 6 months to go. I would love to finish it one day.
Yeah. Do you think you ever will go back to uni and finish that degree?
I think it's getting on the edge of expiring now, but or maybe it's expired. But I would like to finish it, but I just don't know if 6 months is going to find themselves anytime soon. I've been thinking about maybe doing 1 unit, but my days are pretty strict.
Yeah. So, can you take me back to that, that brainstormy moment, the light bulb going off in the head when it's pre-Canva days, it's when you guys started your first company.
Yeah.
Can you kind of explain to our audience how that happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was at university and I was also teaching design programs at the same time. And I saw students really struggling to learn the very basics. So they would take a whole semester learning where the buttons were in Photoshop. I was also teaching Dreamweaver to create websites and iMovie to create and Final Cut Pro. And all of these things I thought were really, really complicated. And I thought that in the future they should all be online and you should be able to collaborate with other people. And it should be really simple. So you shouldn't have to take an entire semester just to learn where the buttons were. You should be able to jump in and start using it. And you also shouldn't have to learn a different tool for everything that you wanted to create. So you shouldn't have to go and create something use something different to create your marketing materials or your videos or your websites. So our goal at this, realized that was the future, but at that point in time had no business experience or marketing experience or software experience or any relevant experience. So I took on school yearbooks in Australia and spent a long time trying to find a really great software development company. I actually made our first website and in Flash, which is terrible, but it was then we got it properly coded.
And you still have that company, yeah?
Yeah, so Fusion Books actually was where a lot of the IP for Canva came from. So the way we were going to have collaborative online design platform. So Canva bought that company for $1. They got a bargain and some amazing team members, which was really helpful because I think there would have been way too much IP problems if that was sold.
Yeah. And high school students are still using it to create their end of year.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's It must be kind of weird now that you've stepped away from that to see it still like blossoming and growing as a company.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Is it hard to, like I imagine even with Canva as well, because it was your baby, but now there's this massive team, letting go of elements, especially for someone like you, I think.
It's a continuous process of letting go, because at the start you do everything yourself.
Yeah.
So I was doing customer service and quality assurance and all of the product management and just like all the marketing or between Cliff and I. And so we've got over 600 people now. So every time a new person starts, it's like giving away just another hat and then another hat. And then you're like, how on earth was I doing all of these things when it was just us two?
Yeah.
But we can do so much more, obviously, with 600 people than we could when we're 2 people. We'd be like, okay, we're going to create a piece of marketing material like 3 months later. That eventually comes.
Yeah.
The number of things you can do in parallel is definitely increased.
Yeah, it's something that I think all founders and small business owners can relate to, though, that constant juggle of, one hat on, another one off.
Totally.
What were the main challenges for you then from when you started the company to now?
Actually, I'll tell you a little bit of a funny story about the different hats. We used to have an interdepartmental meeting when it was just Cliff and I. We actually have all of the departments listed, so accounts and legal and software development and marketing and IP, like legal, I think we had, and all the different areas. And we'd go through and we'd have a very short meeting on each of the different departments across the company. So that was kind of but the different challenges between then and now. I think every stage of the company has different challenges. Obviously in the early days with Fusion, we were having to become profitable really quickly. We're having to market off a really, really small budget and figure out how to expand. We're having to get the software to be developed, and we redeveloped it every year as we found different technology. We had to figure out how to employ people for the first time. We had to figure out how to work with people, set up an office, all of those sorts of challenges. Now with 600 people, there's all sorts of different challenges I never would have imagined. Like the one of the things we've been working on right now is like, how do people transfer teams? And there's an uncanny number of things you need to think about, like making sure that you're matching people's skill sets with their teams, with the company needs, with expertise, with mentorship. There's a whole host of things that we're needing to be thinking about in order to do that effectively. Obviously in between those 2 points, there was raising funds, figuring out how to pitch investors, getting rejected a lot, trying to find a tech team. And then there's like little things that you would have never thought about. Like I would never have thought about, like lunch lines. So we had lunch together all the time, every day. And in the early days, we'd all sit down and have lunch together. And then we started to grow. And then we end up with really long lunch lines. So we needed to make a goal for the Vibe team to reduce the lunch lines down to 2 minutes. And then there's all these little bizarre things. And now we have like a lunch. I think there's a 2-hour block that people can go and have lunch. Yeah. So just like all these little tweaks that you're just constantly having to reinvent as you grow.
Yeah. And also there's all this additional responsibility now. It's not you and Cliff, it's you and Cliff and cast of thousands.
Yeah, totally. We've got 600 people. We've got probably over 100 investors now. There's a lot of people, and then obviously millions of customers. So we need to be thinking about them in everything that we're doing as well.
Yeah. So back to that light bulb moment. You realize this is a great idea. Why has no one thought of it? And then you start pitching and pitching and pitching. Like it took a really long time to get Canva over the line.
Yeah, and before that, we'd had a company for 5 years. So it's been a very long journey. It's been about 11 years now.
Wow.
Canva's been launched for 5 years, but then a year before that was development. A year before that was pitching investors and tech people. And then the years before that was Fusion. So it's definitely been a long time in the making.
Yeah, no, like people are like, overnight success. You're like,
absolutely.
Overnight 11-year success.
Exactly.
Yeah. How do you keep the passion and the energy going then? Because that's a long journey.
I think having So one of the values that we have explicitly stated at Canva is to set crazy big goals and make them happen. And I happen to be very inspired by crazy big goals. So we have a 2-step plan at Canva. Step 1 is to build one of the world's most valuable companies. No biggie. And,
Just a little one.
just a little one. And then step 2 is to do the most good we can do. And so we're making small steps on step 1. We've still got a really long way to go, but we're really just getting started with step 2 as well. So we're really figuring out how we can use our platform and all of the awesome community to really help achieve the world's goals. We're starting to think a little bit more about that at the moment as well.
So how important is purpose to you then? Sounds like everything.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's been my driving force since forever. Like when I was at school, I was thinking about what do I want to do when I grow up, and thinking maybe I'll become a journalist or a diplomat, or had all sorts of different things I tried, or a lawyer. And I think that 2-step plan started forming.
Yeah. Diplomat.
I was just thinking all sorts of kind of things. The careers counsellor told me to be an actuary. I'm kind of quite glad I didn't go down that path. I don't think that would have been quite suited to me.
It's an interesting choice to give you.
I was pretty good at maths and science.
Yeah. So speaking of maths and science then, STEM, obviously you must be quite passionate about STEM and increasing the availability for STEM for women as well. Is there anything that Canva's doing particularly at the moment to kind of help that?
Yeah, there's a host of things that we're doing. So we support a lot of different events, so everything from Women Who Code. So we've got a community space here and we host heaps and heaps of different events. We work with a lot of universities now as well. We have an internship program. We've brought in some incredible interns into Canva. And there's a host of other things that we're doing as well. But I think that what's most important is that I think that in schools, people should be learning to solve problems. And when you are learning to solve problems, you can solve that through coding. You can solve that through all sorts of different things. Like the outdated sort of rote learning that happens in some schools is just not that helpful to be setting up our students for tomorrow, for all of the problems that people are going to be having to solve. And so I think there's so much more that we can be doing in that. Imagine if you're at school and you're learning, you're being inspired by the UN Sustainable Development Goals and thinking, how can we solve these? What's the best in the world that's happening in this area? And then learning the skills, so everything from coding to project management to actually help solve those sorts of problems. I think that we're starting to certainly see a turn towards that, but I think there's still a really long way we can go.
Yeah, we do at my kids' school, they do play-based learning, which is all about that. So
excellent.
Like this term they did a project that was how you can use art to inform the world about your community, and they did videos and they made a book about community members to, tell the story of Newtown.
That's wonderful.
The term before they did sustainability, and they built a whole kids playground for the kindergarten kids out of like raw materials and stuff. Like I think it is happening more and more.
Definitely.
That shift in learning and the shift in the way that we teach our kids, and certainly they're hungry for it.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Yeah, it's great really that you're also involved in those kind of initiatives, I think. So obviously from that initial kernel, Canva has just expanded monumentally, and not just in terms of the number of people that you have, but the offerings that you're giving everyone, the availability to design and stuff, but also the areas that you're expanding to in terms of location, like China. You've launched in China. That must have been a huge undertaking, because it's not just like bringing it to an English-speaking country. That's a massive thing. Can you tell me why China, why now, and how long was that process?
Absolutely. So we're used in 190 countries now. And we're in 100 languages. Wow. And so we tackled a lot of the Roman languages that were quite easy to translate the UI into. And then we started to tackle some of the harder languages that have different typography and a different script. And then we needed to ensure that we had all of the fonts and that sort of thing. And then we tackled the hard languages. So the hard languages to get into for us was in China, because we needed to set up an entire team there. And we also needed to really localize the UI, localize the login methods and the publish methods, partner with some amazing firms there. So we partnered with the largest stock photography company there and the largest font foundry there as well. And then we also needed to ensure that we had media partnerships and all sorts of other things happening there. And so that has been an awesome investment to make, because it's like 1/4 of the internet population.
Yeah.
And so we want to empower them to design as well. And then we also launched in right to left markets, so Arabic and Hebrew and Urdu, where we had to flip the entirety of Canva's UI. So you could read it from right to left. And so that was a huge initiative as well, a huge engineering effort. But now we really can empower the whole world to design. So that's, I guess, been our philosophy right from the start. And so it's really cool to be able to see that now actually happening. But there's still so much more we need to do. So now we're concentrating on localizing the 50,000 templates we have into the 100 languages that we're in. We need to ensure that we have all of the fonts in. We've got some fonts in every language, but we want to ensure every language has an amazing array of fonts and an amazing array of photography that's localized to their own needs. So that's just going to be localized currency, localized payment methods.
Yeah,
it's
massive.
It's a long list of things that need to be done to become really locally relevant. We even want to get to the point that, and we're working on having, when you're in a certain market, we want to ensure that the quotes are from local heroes. So really, really focusing on the localized experience.
Yeah. Do you ever feel tired by your ambition?
I mean, I'm always inspired by goals, and actually there's a song that's my favorite song. It's I like things that seem impossible. So that's kind of my personal motto. If it's hard, I kind of like it.
Yeah. So what's a typical day for you these days then?
There's not that much that's typical. I can tell you about my day coming up. We've got something called mid-season reviews. So we work on the season, so summer, autumn, winter, spring. And at the moment it's mid-season review. And so what each of the groups are getting up to present the progress that they've made. They often show demos of the products that they've been working on. They talk about their plans and how they're tracking towards their big season goals. So that's really fun, because each of the teams and groups are getting up to present. And so that's a lot of my day today. And then sometimes one of my favourite passions is working with the product teams. So getting to do things like sketch workshops where we might be sketching out the future of things. Other times I'm working with teams on their goals. All sorts of different things.
Do you have any specific kind of morning rituals or way you like to start your day?
I've just started a couple of things which I can tell you about. So I've been doing two things. One thing for the last month, which I've been loving, which is the 5-minute journal. So you write down 3 things that you're grateful for, 3 things that you would like to do to make your day amazing. And then you do the same in the evening, like what were 3 things that were amazing today and how could you have improved it? And I'm loving doing that. I feel like as a founder, I'm continuously thinking about where are the problems, what are the things I need to solve, and I don't do a lot of stepping back and be like, things are actually pretty good. And so I've found that really valuable. And then just in the last few days, so I can't really call this a habit at this point in time, but I'm really enjoying it, is something called morning pages, where you just literally write down 3 pages of whatever's on your head, in your mind.
Like automatic writing almost.
What's automatic writing? I don't know about that.
That's just basically when you sit down, with a blank piece of paper or blank keyboard and you just type or write, and whatever comes out, comes out.
That's exactly right. And I've been finding that really fun, because it can just help you to get through any thoughts that are in your head and get to the stuff that you want to be thinking about. I find that I'm very conscientious with my pen. I've been really enjoying that.
Yeah. What was your thoughts this morning?
I was a couple of things I was thinking this morning. Just that I want to be feeling a lot more grateful for things, because I think, as I was saying, I focus a lot of the things on things I need to, a lot of the time on things I need to be improving. And so I wanted to
forward thinking.
like,
instead of being present.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to spend a little bit more time being conscientious about that. And yeah, that was probably the main one.
It is hard to be present though, particularly these days. There's so many distractions. It's so you're easily able to be taken away from yourself in the moment.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I'm pretty good at being present, but I'm pretty not good at appreciating things that are going well internally. So for me, I'm always like, oh, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing that, as opposed to being like, 95% of things are doing all right. And yes, there are 5% of things that need to be improved. So just trying to get that balance, I think, is important.
And are you still setting yourself really big, purposeful goals?
Yeah, absolutely. That's like critical to my being. If I don't have a big goal, I feel really lost. So I always like to have a big goal that I'm working towards.
Yeah. And what's next for Canva? Because I hear there's big plans. I hear whispers of big plans anyway. What can you reveal?
So I guess everything falls under those two big goals I was mentioning before. So there's still a lot to do to make Canva one of the world's most valuable companies. And so we're in 50,000 schools, but we'd like to be in every school, and we'd like to be have the whole school using it. We're in lots and lots of enterprises now, but we'd love the entire enterprise to be using Canva. So there's a lot coming up in that space as well. We're being used, we've had 60 million presentations created now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we would love everyone to be using Canva to create their presentations. And so there's an incredible amount of work that's going into that at the moment to really make that presentation experience magical. So we think that you shouldn't be sending a PowerPoint file or a PDF file over email. You should be able to send a beautiful link that has all your videos and everything embedded, and it's a really amazing experience. So that's another thing that we're focusing on a lot at the moment. And there's just so much more. Like our mission is to really empower everyone to design anything and publish anywhere. And so we spoke a little bit about the empower everyone, which is why we're going into so many languages and really focusing on that. But to design anything, we literally mean anything at all that you can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
And then publish anywhere is another really important thing. So you can now print your designs on paper in 44 countries. You can print your design as a T-shirt in the US now. You can turn your design into a website. There's all sorts of different things that you can do. Because we want to empower everyone to design.
Yeah, I think small business owners are particularly grateful because the stuff that you've provided them has just opened a whole new level of marketing to the majority of small business owners, like that would have been unattainable before or unaffordable. Like, I think it's fantastic.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I remember when we were quoted, when we were just getting started, $1,000 to create one brochure. And we're like, we cannot afford $1,000 to create a brochure. And so now having that power in small businesses' hands, I think, is really powerful. And it's so nice to see that actually turn into reality now, and so many small businesses benefiting from it.
Yeah. What about mentors? Have you had many mentors in this process?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate to meet a number of people. So Bill Tai, who was an investor from Silicon Valley, flew over to Perth, and I met him, and he sort of helped to open a lot of doors in Silicon Valley, which was amazing. Lars Rasmussen, who co-founded Google Maps, was our tech advisor quite early on with Canva, and helped us to find our tech team. So what that actually entailed was him saying no to people for a whole year and refusing, saying that everyone wasn't good enough, which they weren't necessarily, because the tech bar that we had needed to be really high to be able to build this thing. And then I've been really fortunate to have amazing co-founders. So Cliff, obviously, and then Cam joined us with Canva, and it's been amazing over the years. And then, we've got lots of different investors that we call on for different things at different points in time as well.
Yeah. Is it important to have that kind of sounding board that's outside of the day-to-day workings of Canva?
Yeah, I think so. I think the other thing that's been really important, I know that it might be hard to access different people at different points in time, but the amount of information that's now available online and through blogs and podcasts and all sorts of things like that, you can get access to information and people's thoughts and opinions that you wouldn't necessarily be able to get in contact with.
Yeah.
And I did so much reading when we were starting out. There's this thing called Venture Hacks Bible. It's like a 1,000-page PDF that I devoured a number of times, trying to not sound like someone who knew nothing about startups when we started pitching. And that was really helpful. I realized recently when I was reading back through some old emails, I was like writing Y frames, like the letter Y, like for a year. I realized that they were called Y frames. So yeah, it's been a funny journey, but yeah, there's a lot of different mentors could actually even be from reading different things online. Like we published a blog post that was super long, that sort of trying to detail as much of our journey as possible. So hopefully other people can take a few gems from it.
Yeah. And that first pitch, how was it for you?
The first pitch was really awkward. So I'd gone from Perth to Silicon Valley, and I was wearing I'd read that they were casual in Silicon Valley, so rather than wearing my full business suit, which I at that stage was wearing to everything that I did, was wearing just my suit jacket and a quite a formal dress, but I thought I was very casual, business casual I thought I was. The first thing that Bill said to me was that I didn't need to get dressed up, and I was mortified. Yeah. And I'd also brought my deck on a paper pitch deck. Yeah. And because I printed off in my mum's living room on our printing presses that we had for Fusion Books. And he was like, do you have an iPad or an iPhone? And I was like, no. That was really awkward as well. Yeah, so it was a long, awkward journey of going from knowing very little about startups to where we are today. Yeah. Thank you so much. I know you're pressed for time, so I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Really great to chat with you. Yeah, thank you. And that's it for First Act. Don't forget, if you're looking for small business inspiration and advice, head to koshysbusinessbuilders.com.au.